me. Red in this light that isn't mine. Finding every reason you can find to question my love. Remember that it's not me. I was never the one who broke your heart. We both know I've been gentle from the start. So though the questions keep on coming this time, you know that I'll listen. You know I'll be patient with you. You're my baby. Maybe this time you'll know you can trust me. You'll know I'll be faithful to you. You're my baby. I was never cheating. You connected dots that weren't there. You gave attention to the thoughts I never wear. It's not my style, even though it's so clear to me. You shouldn't base the future on the past. I know you really want this thing to last. So though the questions keep on coming this time, you know that I'll listen. You know I'll be patient with you. You're my baby. Maybe this time you'll know you can trust me. You'll know I'll be faithful to you. You're my baby. I don't wanna fight now. You're barking, you bite now, to prove that I'm right now, that you lost your sight now. I'm holding it tight now, can't see through the night now, to show you my light now, to paint these walls white now. I don't wanna fight now. You're barking, you bite now, to prove that I'm right now, that you've lost your sight now. I'm holding it tight now, can't see through the night. How to show you my light now, to paint these walls white now. So though the questions keep on coming this time, you know that I'll listen. You know I'll be patient with you. You're my baby. Maybe this time you'll know you can trust me. You'll know I'll be faithful. So though the questions keep on coming this time, you know that I'll listen. You know I'll be patient with you. You're my baby. Maybe this time you'll know you can trust me. You'll know I'll be faithful to you. You're my baby. To you, you're my baby. To you, you're my baby. To you, you're my baby. I don't wanna fight now. You're barking, you bite now, to prove that I'm right now, that you've lost your sight now. I'm holding it tight now, can't see through the night. How to show you my light now, to paint these walls white now.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Down in the Valley. We are now on episode 18, and joining us today is our new co-host, Jacob Young. And before we get started, just want to give a big shout out to our friends at the Beautiful Game Network. Be sure to check them out on Twitter. Follow them at the BGNFM. Go to their website at www.bgn.fm. And while you're there, check out not only Down in the Valley, but other USL podcasts like the Back Chat Show, USL Show, Rising S1, and many other high-quality podcasts to get your USL fix. And also be sure to check out our webpage at www.downintheRGV.com. Follow us in all our social media, Facebook, Twitter. We also have Instagram at RGVFC Fans. Be sure to check out all of our podcasts on SoundCloud, Apple Music, the Google Play Store, as well as Stitcher. Having said all of this, wow, that was a lot in one breath. So, Jacob, how are you, man?
Doing pretty well. Excited to, break down what we've been, discussing even before this. And, yeah, just excited for the show.
Definitely. So, what did you think so far give me the preliminary assessment of what you saw from, yesterday morning?
Yesterday morning, what I definitely saw was, RGVFC playing a solid game, just overall in general. And what I mean by that is, sure, they didn't get enough shots on goal, in my opinion, but they were able to move the ball well and were able to defend well. Sure, and against a high-powered team like Reno was yesterday, it was really well to see, this team basically building on their opportunities and things like that. Of course, they were pinned down. I did not like that a ton, but other than that, they did a pretty good job.
If you were to oversimplify things, who did you think was affected more by the heat, Reno or RGV?
Well, I would say Reno for sure. Because, yes, Reno were able to attack, but it was an earlier morning for them. I mean, even the announcer on ESPN Plus said it was technically 8 a.m. for them when the game started, or 8:30. So, plus they're traveling the day before, it really hurt them. And obviously, in my opinion, we had the water break for that team in general. I think RGVFC were able to handle themselves well. In my opinion, they didn't create enough offense, but with Reno, the way that they played, they were a bit sluggish later in the second half, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think there were all these meteorological factors. I mean, I heard through the broadcast a lot of wind, the heat, humidity as well. At the end, it's going to tire all of the players out. I did notice that the announcers also noted that they felt like by the end, the players for both teams were kind of running out of gas. So by the time they got to to each other's goals, they were kind of too tired to think properly on what they needed to do in order to finish off their opportunities. So, I mean, it was a very unorthodox game. Honestly, I hope they never do it again. I don't know what you think, but I did not enjoy having a 10:30 game when in the end the whole point of it did not really give the results that it should have as far as attendance from the children. I mean, don't get me wrong, I guess the timing was not perfect due to I think next week is testing for them. I'm not sure. It's been a long time since I've been in primary school, but from the pictures that were posted on there, it was very underwhelming.
Yeah, it was very, very underwhelming for sure. I hope they never do it again as well. It normally would work obviously they did have the date before, and I think it would have worked better. But considering the fact that, yes, there is STAR testing that next week, and they've already also started STAR testing most likely as well. That's for primary school at least. And so it's just bad timing. And, I mean, it wasn't what anyone wanted. I think they still had, in a way, the lowest attendance. I think there have been more this season than what was actually at the game, in my opinion.
Yeah, I saw there's some instances in the camera angles was mostly empty seats. At least like when it's regular attendance, you would see the fans spread out, but at least it wasn't complete sections of just orange seats up in the stands. So it's front office has to really rethink this through. It came to my attention as well, and you saw it as well, that tickets for each student was $10, and so all of that combined, the early morning heat, the SAR testing, the ticket prices, wasn't really a good combination to bring out like all of the kids that I'm guessing front office thought they were going to get. Because here's the thing, man, like from the beginning, they expected to sell out because they were like, we're not going to sell tickets to the general public. But then all of a sudden they started realizing, hey, you know what? We're not going to sell out. That's when they announced, like right at the last minute, like, oh, we will be selling tickets to this game to the general public. And I'm like, from one day to the next, that's not going to happen. Very few people are. For starters, it's 10:30 in the morning. People are going to be working, or they're going to be in school. And people are like, when it's 10:30, like I'm not going to be able to drink, especially because there's school kids around. So you get all of those people out of the question. So I mean, in theory, it's good, and I talked about it with Sean in a previous Houston Soccer Power Hour episode. But in practice, it was just not how it should have been done. And so, anyways, going past that, so let's go ahead and talk about the starting 11 for this game. And there weren't really that many changes. Obviously, I think the only change was now that because we didn't have Mames, because we didn't have Max Steves, but we did have Eric Bird. Those were the only changes so back in the goalkeeper position, obviously well deserved because he did get the clean sheet against Orange County SC was Nicholas Cordy, and then kept the defense pretty much the same. Padilla out in the right back, Connor Donovan and Omar Ontiveros. In the center back position, and Kyle Adams as the left back, pretty much rendered Derek Luke like almost out of the starting 11 roster. He's been relegated to the bench, if I'm not mistaken. And then in the midfield, that's where we did see the change. So we had Zach Wright out on the right wing. You had Todd Warden and Eric Bird in the center defensive midfield positions. Eric Bird coming down from the Houston Dynamo. And then you had Chuy Enriquez back on the starting 11, back out there on the left wing. In the attack, you also saw the return of Matias Saldivar after having served the suspension for that red card he received on Portland Timbers 2. And up on top, Aldo Quintanilla, who was trying to continue his goal-scoring form in this game. What'd you think of the starting 11?
Starting 11 was really solid. I really liked it. It sounded like and looked like a dangerous starting 11. Why I say that is especially when you go to the defense and even the midfield for sure. You have the veteran of Eric Bird that's been here for a couple of years, or been in the Valley for a couple of years, obviously almost got the chance to go over to Houston Dynamo, but obviously just didn't get enough playing time, so came back here to get the playing time, and it was good. Mm-hmm. And then you also had Todd Wharton too. So Todd Wharton plus Eric Burden, if I'm not mistaken, I think maybe they played in a couple of other games before this, or even a season last year. And
yes,
so it was a dangerous midfield. Sadly, we couldn't really push them forward too much and make, a difference in the game, but that was a really solid lineup right there. And then obviously going on, like you said, to the strikers and the wingers, and it just, in my opinion, a really good lineup. They obviously had to make a couple of changes here and there to make sure that everything was running good, and everything, in my opinion, ran well. Because yes, Nico Corti also got another clean sheet. If you do count a 0-0 tie as a clean sheet, which it technically is in soccer, so considering that, really great job from them.
Yeah, I mean, the defense was solid enough that he did not have to come out like too much out against the attackers. But when he was put to the test, he pretty much came away with flying colors, except for one instance, but it was called offsides anyways. So he was able to keep the clean sheet. Honestly, I am seeing a lot of improvement out of Nico Corti. He is so much more confident. He's learning from his past mistakes, I feel. And he's starting to have that a little bit more of a presence inside his box. And I'm really, really enjoying that. I honestly hope that Gerson Echeverri continues to have him in the starting 11 because he deserves it. It's more than the fact that totally forgot Matt Sanchez has not shown enough to deserve being the starting goalkeeper for RGVFC. As far as the defense, like I said, really solid out there. Ontiveros, we mentioned it before, has been kind of like the bright star in this, especially due to the fact, like, you know, we expected from the beginning of the season that the pairing was going to be Kyle Adams and Connor Donovan, but because this whole Derek Luke not being up to snuff to the level that he should be, had Kyle Adams move to the left back position, but Ontiveros has filled in the spot really, really well. He's playing like a player with a lot more experience than someone would imagine that he does. The only thing I think he needs to work on, I feel like more often than not, like, I mean, he's been getting got like 2-3 yellows so far this season. He tends to be a little bit like he goes too much for the foul rather than being smart and waiting for the attacker to make a mistake. But, you know, it's just things that'll be learned from experience if he continues to be in the starting 11.
Yeah, exactly. It reminds me of a bit of Alex Lima, the way that Alex Lima played, or even not even Alex Lima, Tomas Martinez, because those two guys, the same way, they would go, in my opinion, they go more for the foul than they go more for the actual ball, because they get a bit upset that they're, you know, behind and they think that they need to make this tactical foul, which is unnecessary. And yes, it does come with experience. And I mean, this is what the USL is. It's for experience. We're a growing team just like that. And as long as, you know, you put Gerson notices that, and he puts the players on the field or on the pitch each game in and each game out, you will see a lot of improvements. And I think this, in my opinion, the way that it's felt, this is going to be a really good season to see these players, you know, grow, and it'll remind me of our inaugural season too. So
I think if anything, this is pretty much the foundation. If the Dynamo lets us be, per se, and continue growing, letting us keep Gerson Echeverri, letting us keep, you know, most of these players, I think maybe not this season. This season, we might be able to make it to playoffs. We'll have to see how this form continues. But I know for sure next season, if this continues to build, these young players start getting the experience from playing, I feel like we might be a force to be reckoned with for sure next season. But definitely, like I said, there is a lot of improvement. There's still some things they need to work on, and I know the players know. You know, when they talk on the interviews, they kind of point out the things that they know that they did wrong, and I like that. I like that out of these players, that they have they're humble enough to know that they're not playing perfect, that they could play much better, and that drives them to continue improving. And
doing this wrong, I think I'm doing it correct in my opinion, and just, you know, has a hard head, you're not going to see that improvement. And sure enough, when those players are able to admit that they did wrong, that means that you have a good squad, and just they're gonna be able to feel like they can learn to do much more than what they're actually doing.
Huge shout out to Junior Gonzalez on that note. I mean, you have to admit that guy was like, oh no, we're doing fine. No, you're not doing fine. Like, who are you trying to fool? And that's the difference also with Gerson. He's truthful to the press, and he doesn't try to sugarcoat things around. So honestly, really, really, really enjoy it. People just got to give these players and the coaching staff patience. Results are going to come. Thankfully, right now, at least from what we're seeing right now, I mean, we're scoring goals. Not this game, but in the past couple of games, we've been scoring goals. The problem was the defense. And now we're seeing that the defense has improved a lot. We've already had 2 straight shutouts. So, we're building on it. Results are going to come. So I know I've seen a lot of comments on Twitter, kind of showing a little bit of desperation. And then I've seen comments like, well, Gerson Echeverry was not the right man for the job. I mean, it's early in the season. There's a vast improvement compared to last season. So just give it time. So that was the starting 11. And as far as the game was, it was a decent result. You did see some glimpses of mistakes here and there, as far as passing. There was one play in particular where, if I'm not mistaken, it was Todd. Was it Todd? I think it was Todd, where there was the transition from defense to offense, where literally Todd Warden gave the ball to the attacker and then left the defense once again in an awkward position, but they were able to group back and avoid a goal against. So it's happening less and less, thankfully. So.
Yeah, exactly. I remember that play too. I think I was either watching on the computer or on my phone, frustrated as can be, or not really frustrated, but just annoyed, because I was like, you can't do that against any team in general. If you do that, they will counter, especially better teams will counter and score a goal in the back of the net. I mean, not to mention, there's so many other teams that are on our schedule that are much better than Reno, or just, up there with Reno as well. San Antonio will probably be able to counter and maybe create something with that and make Nico Cordy really have to work for it, or just go around him. Yeah. And obviously you can't let that happen. But yes, I am seeing more and more improvements with that. It's just obviously every single game is another stepping stone for this RGVFC Toro team.
I think the aspect of that specific play that kind of annoyed the most out of me was, I understand so that maybe like your pass goes towards your teammate and the opposing player intercepts it. No, this pass was going straight to the opponent, and that's what made me pull my hair when I saw that play. And I was at work. I was listening to it. I saw that and I was like, what are you doing? I was like, but thankfully, like I said, it didn't fall in a goal against. Another play that was really interesting was that Aldo Quintanilla breakaway. And I think going back to what the announcer had said was the fact, like, I think that by the time he got one-on-one against the keeper, his legs were too tired to get a decent strike on the ball. I noticed he had to stretch out to try to make contact with the ball, which is why his shot did not have was not going in the direction of the goal. But I think that was the most dangerous opportunity from both teams in the second half.
Yeah, the second half, in my opinion, as well, was really slow from both squads. I did see them lose a lot of, momentum in a way. They were gassed, basically. And yes, it will always be tough. I remember, because my sister played soccer, and I remember standing in the heat and watching them play at like 10:30 a.m. in the South Texas heat. It was awful and just brutal, even for the players. They had 2 water breaks, so it was like 4 quarters, and I mean that it's just going to get you every time, and so they were always gassed and super exhausted and things like that, and so it was normal for the players to be like they were, but that second half was just a very slow half to get over and done with because both teams were. But I feel like in a sense that RGVFC did struggle more than Reno did in the second half, because in a way Reno had more chances, and I didn't really see RGVFC have that many chances in the second half.
No, I think Reno was able to contain them well, which is I think why at the end RGVFC tried to go more for the long shots or the long passes up in space. You saw a couple of those. Most of them were kind of overhit, so they went straight towards the keeper. But that one in particular was a well-placed pass over to Aldo Quintanilla. Gave him the advantage to go one-on-one. Sadly, he by the time he got there, he was out of gas. So let's go ahead and guys, also, if you guys saw the game, you guys want to give us your opinion on the game, don't forget, you can call us. The phone lines are open right now. Call us at 956-622-5977 and participate on this show as well. Give us your thoughts on the team. What do you expect from Fresno? Are you pumped for the South Texas Derby, which is coming up in a week, just a little bit over a week, and we're already going to have our first San Antonio Derby? Call us and give us your opinion on that. So we're going to go ahead and go into the highlights. Let's take a look at the highlights of this game. Like I said, it was a 0-0 draw, so don't expect any goals. But let's go ahead and see what we can analyze from what did happen during the game. So, all right. So that's the beginning of the game. Hated it take forever. Look at that passing. Look at that passing between the players. Oh. So that was a free kick. Going back, if I'm not mistaken, if I recall correctly, that play with that specific free kick was after Nomar Ontiveros foul. Oh, I do have to add, there were a lot of soft fouls called against RGVFC this game.
Yeah, I remember that. Yes, there were a lot of soft fouls that I did not think that were really fouls as well, because of the fact that the ref just didn't let them play. And it's kind of annoying when you get into a game and a ref doesn't let you play, especially when it's not really your rivals. Mm-hmm. And it's an early game and you don't expect them to be that physical. I mean, Reno and RGV aren't known to be really physical in the league, so that was a really frustrating part about that whole day, almost, for the whole game. Yeah,
I know there was one play in particular that really irked me, because it was I think it was against Saldivar, right outside the box, and the ball was up in the air, was coming down, and I believe the Reno got to it first. And then Saldivar was just passing by, like he wasn't even going towards the player. He was just happened to pass by in front of the player. The Reno player crashes onto him, and the ref calls a foul in a very dangerous position. I was like, get out of here.
Yeah, same. It's just sometimes you have those refs, sometimes you don't, and when you have them, you have to deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think if I were the player, I would have lost my cool right there, and that's why I don't play soccer. So let's go ahead and continue with the highlights. So there was a lot of free kicks by Reno, and then that was a really good shot that looks like Nico Cordy was able to get his fingers on it. Yeah, he gets his fingers on it, and then the ball hits the crossbar. And then this is the second half. Wow, look, that was a really good play and a really good save by Nico Cordy. You know, the connection that these players have.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, looking at it here as well, just two fantastic saves, especially from that highlight. He was just able to get those fingertips on him, basically. Mm-hmm. And when you get those fingertips on, it redirects the ball, and that's what you want from a keeper, and that's what you want to happen. If sometimes, it's just bad luck that it goes off of a goalie's fingertips and in the back of the net. So luckily, both of those didn't happen, and so he just was actually able to play well in a sense, as in just was able to clear those. Of course, the defense let up at that time, and that's what happened. Or, excuse me, not that, but you get what I'm saying, kind of.
Yeah, they kind of, I guess they kind of loosened the grip on the marking there, which let that attacker to head on straight towards Nickel Cordy, and made a really, really nice save there. He came up big in this game. And so then let's go ahead and continue with some other plays. Some more number. I think another thing that I did want to bring up was there's another really good save by Nicholas Cordy. But what I did want to bring up, there were many instances where Reno was playing out in the wing, and it was whether it was Zach Wright or Chuy Enriquez, but mostly Zach Wright, where there's the long through ball to Aldo Quintanilla. There's no offside, and like you say, he has to throw himself to try to make contact with the ball, and doesn't give it the direction it needs to make its way inside of the goal. But what I was gonna say is, many times where Zach Wright would try and put pressure on the attacker, but the attacker made some sort of feint on him, a little dribble, and he would totally give himself so that the attacker could just go around him. What they tell you whenever you're defending is don't no te entregues. Don't make a sudden movement where you put yourself in a very uncomfortable and at a disadvantage compared to the attacker, where you won't be able to react if he does go around you. And Zach Wright, many times, I guess it was that el impetu of trying to get the ball away from the attacker as fast as possible, that he didn't really play smart about it. So it's another thing that Gerson Echeverria hope looks at from the tape there. It annoyed me a lot of times, because he had put the attacker in a position where he was pretty much with his back to the end line, and he just pretty much gives himself away like that, and gives the attacker a huge opportunity to go around him and look for a cross or head towards the goal line, to look for the shot.
Yeah, exactly. I did notice a lot during the game that RGVFC, especially with their defense, just like you said, they struggled with the wingers, which was strange, because at the same time, they had played against, Orange County, and Orange County did a lot of the same things, which was putting the ball wide. Mm-hmm. And when I guess RGVFC really wasn't expecting that, and so when they would put them wide, they just act differently on defense when they knew what they were doing before. And so that's what, gave Reno a lot of the opportunities to break down or almost score on Nico Cordy. Luckily, Nico Cordy was on his game yesterday, and so he was able to stop a lot of the shots. But without him, and it would have been a totally different game. And so luckily, obviously, Gerson picked him, and when that happens again, RGVFC has to be ready, because that was a very poor performance when they were, when they finally figured out we can play on that wide side and cross the ball in and have a lot more opportunities than we have been before.
I think one of what continues to be a major quirk of mine, and I mentioned it ever since the Portland game, is that we know that this team, and you pointed it out against Orange County as well, is that this team does not look very comfortable without having possession of the ball. And so when I saw in that Portland game, Gerson Echeverria kind of parked the bus, that's what I think gave Portland the initiative to get all these goals. And I think this time it wasn't because Gerson Echeverry wanted it, but more along the fact that Reno put a lot of pressure on the midfield, that they would take the ball away and pretty much corner RGV to their own their own half of the field. And so they kind of got the idea, try to look for those long through balls. But they have to play a little bit smarter when they're in that position, and then they end up getting possession of the ball. You're gonna have to play smarter to try to break down a high pressure team, because if most of the teams in the USL notice this, they're gonna try and take advantage of that pressure up high. Especially when you start seeing that your midfielders aren't really good with passing accuracy. Not counting Todd Warden. I think he got 92% of passing accuracy. So other than that, that's been our weakness, and it continues to show. Thankfully, like they said, it didn't affect the score this time, but the players are going to have to be smarter. They're going to have to analyze their opponents more as well, how they tend to defend. And then based on that, will we need, a speedy player out in the wing, or do we need a more tactical, possession-based player to distribute the ball around? It's those kinds of things that need to be analyzed from our opponents. So having said this, let's go ahead and listen to some of the interviews things. So thank you, Ray Silva, for getting us this audio. The first interview that I'm going to go ahead and put up is from my man of the match, Nicholas Cordy.
Nico, it seemed like you were having some fun out there. You got peppered with a lot of shots and kind of made up some really big stops and kind of keep the clean sheet. What was the key to stopping their offense today?
Well, they had a couple good chances, but I thought our defensive unit and then the squad in front of that did a really good job of keeping them in front of us and not giving away silly chances. I thought I had a couple saves to make, and I was very happy to have made them. But at the end of the day, it's only that only happens because I have such great defenders in front of me. So,
Coach was talking about how making the adjustment from college to the pro level, and that just in the last few matches alone that you've kind of taken a step up. Do you feel kind of that you've taken a step up in your game? Yeah,
I mean, definitely. It's always I think when you look at analyzing performances, the first couple games, there's a couple of plays here and there that I can do better on. I think for the most part they're good performances. So you look at those, you analyze those, you say, okay, here's a couple of things to tweak, and then we'll be in a better spot. And I think the past couple games I've done a better job of making those couple plays, and so that ends up being the difference for us.
Was there one save or moment that stood out as being the biggest challenge for you today?
I wouldn't say there was a save that felt like the biggest challenge. I will say the moment that sticks with me is the goal that they scored that got called back. They blew it offsides, right? Yeah. I gave myself up on that one, and he chipped me and scored. And so I felt like that helped me for the other one-on-ones that I ended up making a save on, because I stayed big and make them beat me, and I was able to react and make a big save on those. So I kind of got a free pass on one where I gave myself up, and that kind of helped me later on.
Did you know that the play was offside, or was there a moment of concern there?
I think right before you hit it, you hear the whistle, but at the same time, even if it's offsides, as a goalie, I want to keep the ball out of the back of the net. You never want the forward to see the ball going in, so I was upset, but obviously it's a lot better than if it counted.
How do you evaluate your play up to this point in the season? Do you feel good about what you've brought so far?
It's like I said, I think it's similar for a lot of us individually and collectively, that we've had a lot of good games. We played very solid. We're in every game that we play in. And there's a couple plays that let us down, a couple little details. And I think these past couple games we've done a better job of taking care of those. And so that's why we end up getting 2 shutouts, right? We haven't played drastically better. We haven't changed tactically much. It's guys growing up and making the plays we need to make. And luckily the past 2 games I made mine.
Did you have to make any adjustment to your preparation or anything for the early start time today?
Wake up earlier. It's different, but also we train at 10 a.m. a lot. So at the same time, it's probably more difficult for them, coming into this environment, this heat, the humidity, the kind of a little muggy out there today. So it's probably more challenging for them, but I think we handled it pretty well. Obviously, the game was a little slow at times. People got tired, but that's kind of expected with that early kickoff and kind of a heavier field.
I know you guys went to morning training the last couple of days. Were you doing that last week too?
It kind of goes back and forth depending on what the schedule is for the game. The coaches make a decision on what's going to best prepare us for those different challenges.
I know you guys wanted 6, over these last 2 games, but you got 4 points. How important is that? Are you guys pleased with being able to go on the road again for 1 after picking up 4 points?
Yeah, obviously we wanted the win today. When you keep a shutout, you always feel like, oh, what could have been? We had some chances too, but at the same time, I think both teams had good chances, so we can't be too upset about only getting 1 point. But at the same time, when we're home, we want to get 3. And I think early on in the season we gave away some points with just lack of concentration late in games. But obviously, it's 4 points from 2 is a lot better than what we did initially. So we're gonna keep it going. If we get shutouts and when the defense plays has a solid performance like we did today, we're gonna give ourselves chances to win games, which is all you can really do.
Cool. Thank you, man.
So what were your thoughts on what Nick Cordy told the press?
Well, for the most that I could hear off of it from my phone, he says a lot of good things. Obviously, he knew what he needed to improve on and things like that, and he admitted fault when, obviously, like we had even talked about, when he went offside, and he just gave himself up there. Because he also talks about, the mentality of, a forward seeing the ball go in the back of the net. Now that forward knows, I can actually score on this guy, and I can probably do it again. And so it makes, that forward have more confidence. And so he didn't like that necessarily. And so it helped him, be big on the other almost one-on-ones in those, corners when RGVFC was pushed back. So that's really what helped him. And I liked how he said that, of course, and a lot. It was basically that is what I really was able to take back from what he said there.
Yeah, and going back to what I mentioned before, the humbleness or the ability to own his mistake and learning from it and putting it to practice that same day and in that same match, and that really helps a lot, and he owned up to it, not only in the game but to the press, so that's really, really good from him. They did also mention the fact that it's an early game, and that they were happy to get 4 points. They wanted 6, but it shows a decent improvement to be able to get 4 points now that they're going to be going on the road again next Wednesday against Fresno. So I guess next up will be Eric Bird, the Birdman.
I felt pretty good. Obviously, it was my first game, so I wasn't quite as sharp as I want to be. But this is a training not training exercise, but this was a good way for me to get that fitness back and try and get that sharpness and contribute to the team. But overall, I thought we started off really well. We generated a few chances early on, and I think the heat played a factor in today. And the speed of play, and that kind of dictated how both teams approached the game and how things went later on. So it was tough. It was tough today. It was hot out, but I think the team did well. And obviously the shutout was important, and so now it's something to build off of.
Was there any expectations for you coming in, like either from Houston or from Gerson, about how they wanted you to contribute at all?
I think it's every single time you come down from Houston to RGV, you want to play well and you want to make the difference. You want to show why, they have you up there. And so for me, it was just coming out and, play soccer and try and make a difference and do well for the team.
Did you feel like the early start time impacted play at all? Did you see any difference out there from either side?
Yeah, I think, the early play time puts us, right when the sun is coming up. And so it got hot. It got hot quick. And so I think that slowed down the speed of play, and obviously the grass wasn't as slick as it normally is, so the ball was moving a bit slower. But yeah, I think that definitely played a factor in how each team played.
Did you get to train with the team at all this week, or when did you get here for this game?
I got here last night,
Okay.
so they had a training yesterday morning. Wasn't able to train with them.
Is it tough to just come in without that opportunity, or is that kind of difficult for an assignment?
It is, but it's you're used to it. Obviously, I was here last year, so I have a lot of familiarity with a lot of the guys, and it wasn't too much of a learning curve for me. I know the guys, and they always welcome me in, and that's part of it. Professional soccer, you have to be able to adapt and do well with your surroundings.
Were you comfortable with the amount of offensive chances you guys created as a team, or was there something that was missing in that regard?
I think we did okay. I think we generated some good chances. I think we got into some good areas. I think that we could have been a little bit more clinical, myself in particular, around the box. And that's just something that we need to work on and get a little bit better at.
Just at first glance, I know you just kind of joined the club yesterday, played with them for most of the game today. What are your thoughts on this particular group of Toros?
I think there's a lot of talent, a lot of promise here. It's always fun to come down to the Valley. I spent 2 years here, and so it'll always have a special place in my heart and in my playing career. And so it's always fun to come here. And I think the team is in great hands with Carson, and they're only going to get better. And it's exciting to watch this team grow and a lot of hungry young guys on the team. So it's cool to be in this environment.
Interesting to point out from this interview, my throat's getting dry. Interesting to point out that they asked him about when he got here, and he had barely gotten down to the Rio Grande Valley the night before. So no training with RGV, pretty much getting to know the new guys, to try to play. Obviously, he did play against, next to Todd Warden. So I guess he still, like you mentioned, he still kind of knows how Todd Warden plays. So I guess that kind of helped. But around him, you got a bunch of new players, and it's pretty hard for him to give all the talent that we know that he has when he's barely getting used to these new players, because like he said, he had barely gotten to RGV the night before.
Yes, of course, and it did help that he knew a couple of players, but at the same time, this is why that preseason game with Houston Dynamo is so key. It's so perfect because we had Houston Dynamo's A team play, then B team, and even C team, which I believe most likely had the likes of Charlie Ward, had the likes of Eric Bird, Memo, and all of those guys. Mm-hmm. And so, putting those guys to play up against RGV helped. And so, of course, he got to meet those guys, and that was a really key moment for that. Of course, him getting back in there, at night last night, or not night, but last night, the night before, and obviously it didn't help, but at the same time, he knew those players, and he knew kind of where he fell at in that club at that same time.
Yeah, definitely. So, Ray, what's going on?
Edson, good evening. How are you guys?
Real good, real good. How's it going?
Hey, cannot complain.
That's good, man. So, what you got for us?
I got not much today. Aside that the Coyotes launched out their brand new mascot, and it also looks like they will be using the same game ball provider like the USL is, which is the Select brand. Mm-hmm. Announced today during their social media pages, being called Cody the Coyote. And it's not the first time that there's a Cody the Coyote mascot in the Rio Grande Valley. When this may be going into off topic into baseball a little bit, but when the Roadrunners changed to the Edinburgh Coyotes, mm-hmm. They also introduced a mascot by the name of Cody the Coyote. and it brings back a couple of memories uh, for those rabid RGV sports fans who know a little bit of the sports history of the thing. But yeah, going back to the early morning donuts game, Nico Corti, my man of the match right there, had an impressive performance. Made some very important stops. Came out when he needed to, and in fact, I noticed that his confidence level has shot up a little bit after the last two performances. I don't know if you guys can agree with me as far as the man of the match performance.
Yeah, I did. I mentioned it while we were listening to his interview, which, by the way, thank you. That we really, really, really loved the way he took it. Jacob said the same thing. Uh, what he spoke of, the fact that he owned up to his mistake in that offside goal, and learned from it right away to not repeat the same thing. And that was, I believe, one of the keys for him to earn that shutout.
Yeah, I mean, from upstairs, it kind of didn't look offside. I'll be completely honest with you. It really didn't look, but it was caught great, because there have been some officiating crews that may let it slide by, and that's been like one of the most inconsistencies that I've seen from pro refereeing in the past before, where some of those things are offside, some of them are not. But that was a good overall call because I didn't have the advantage of viewing the replay upstairs or anything like that. So Cordy owned up to it. I'm glad, and it's just hopefully we can carry that on to the road and hopefully steal 3 points up there.
Yeah, hopefully. I think after this 3-game tour where we brought back 0 points, I think even with a tie, I'd be pretty content. Because most of the times, like you want to get the 3 points, it's at home, and then at least a point on the road. And then this Fresno team is not really that bad. So we'll be talking about that later on. We'll be talking about the stats. But something that I really want to bring up now that the three of us are here, and I already posted the tweet on Twitter, and want to take advantage that all three of us are here to talk about the news that came to Down in the Valley headquarters, and we talked about it during the game. But according to our sources, it appears that RGVFC alumni Charlie Ward has been released by the Houston Dynamo in the past couple of days. And Ray did want you to bring up what your source told you.
Well, there's several angles you can look at. On the Houston Dynamo side, let's talk about that for a moment, okay? They're already looking at a foreign replacement for him. And Charlie Ward just happens to occupy an international slot for the Dynamo.
Mm-hmm.
So, you can use that angle, okay. Charlie Ward, okay, he's also from England, and they're looking at a young Swedish defender, okay, fine. That may be one point to take a look at it. The second Dynamo point of view that you're looking at, and this is more from a Charlie Ward perspective, is that, okay, the Dynamo told him, hey, look, you want to be here with us, you want to continue your playing career, go down to the Valley, go get minutes down there. What does Charlie Ward say? He says, no. So then, what is factor number 3? And this is just already outside the Dynamo point of view. Could it be an economic factor that maybe that's like holding them back from continuing to continuing his professional career. Could it be that? Who knows? But you have got to take a look at it from each of those angles. Okay, he didn't want to come down on his personal decision. Hey, you can't blame the player for not wanting to continue getting his game shape, and him possibly believing that he's an MLS type of player when he only has like not even half a season under his belt.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the Dynamo angle that you have there. And of course, you have his independent angle where, it could be a financial thing that they could not come to terms with in order for him to come down and accept the terms of coming down and playing here in the Valley. Now I'm going to throw it over to you guys. What's your take on it?
Jacob, you brought up a good point before we went live, so I'll go ahead and let you go first.
All right. Well, yeah, of course, my point was that, you look at him, yes, Ray also brings up a good point that he didn't have half of a season under his belt. And at the same time, when he was playing down here, they did take him out way too early. And then, of course, they brought him to Houston. And when you're brought to an MLS club, you're expected to play. He did not play. And when that happened, you want minutes. You really do want minutes anywhere. And so when they told him to basically, you're in a way going to get demoted, he wasn't going to accept that. I 100% agree with him. It's just on that point, it's Houston Dynamo and RGVFC not really being too smart with the way that they're bringing players up. We also see the likes of Kevin Garcia that hasn't really gotten too many minutes. Maybe he's gotten some minutes in the 2018 season, but I'll have to check on that. But also Eric Bird. That's why Eric Bird's back down here, and then Memo, same deal. So they just need to work on a way to figure out how or when to bring them up, because guess what? Really, they don't have open positions for them to either start or really be on the bench and come out in like the 50th minute.
Yeah, and one I did want to also add up on it, and I told you about this as well. It's like both RGVFC and the Dynamo have this idea of bringing up players for the sake of bringing them up from Rio Grande Valley to the Houston Dynamo, when they probably don't even have the need, or it's probably something that Coach Cabrera does not really need in the end, from his from a roster point of view, to go up, for MLS play. They bring up Eric, they bring up Charlie. When you've already got Cabezas, they've already had gotten Seren, they have Arturo Alvarez, Eric Alexander, to name a couple. Now you also have Luis Gil going up, being bought by, or actually he's on a loan with the Dynamo. So it's almost like they're kind of fluffing up the statement, the process is working from RGV to the Toros because we brought up so many people. And I remember exactly in that game against the Houston Dynamo with RGV, that friendly Houston versus RGV, where I asked Wilmer Cabrera about what he thought and if he was going to be more involved with RGV this year because of the lack of results from the previous season under Coach Gonzalez. And the first thing he does, he stares at me kind of annoyed, and he says, "What do you mean bad results? Because we moved up 5-6 RGV players to the Dynamo first team, and to me that's a success." So right then and there, you're looking at this the wrong way because you're bringing up players you don't need just for the sake of saying like, oh, well, we brought these from RGV, therefore this pipeline is working, and you're seeing that they're not getting the minutes. You have them getting injured. I know Malky was injured. Charlie was injured as well. Who else was injured? I think, and then Taylor Hunter was also brought up from last year, and then where is he now? He got moved to Colorado Switchbacks. He wasn't the fit for the Dynamo, and they took all these valuable players from the 2016 RGV season to not have them play when we really could have used them last year to be competitive. And I think that's what irks me from this relationship, and I know it irks many of the fans that we talk to, that the Dynamo are taking all these players, but yet they don't use them, and then they're getting rusty because they're not getting the play time. So I mean, something's gonna happen, and the fact that we lost a good player like Charlie Ward like this through. I don't know how Charlie Ward personally feels about this, but I'm afraid that now he's got a negative feelings or ill feelings towards this Dynamo organization, including RGV, when he was our most favorite player last year. And it's sad to see that happen to him.
Yeah,
Well,
by far.
By
far.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Jake.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, just by far. I mean, last year I remember just sitting down in the stands and looking across to the supporters section before I joined the supporters, and now, of course, am going to be a professional broadcaster in a sense where I can't cheer. But looking across, they had this sign that said, "God save the Queen, God bless Charlie Ward."
Yes.
So everyone loved him. Absolutely everyone. And so for him to go like that was really, really upsetting, considering the fact that, yes, we needed him last year. And of course now, where is he going to end up going? Probably somewhere in the USL, sadly. And he just loses that connection almost to the MLS.
Definitely. And then now I'm afraid that the fans are going to be ill-fated towards him when it has nothing to do with him. Where it was... Yeah, go ahead.
And unfortunately, this is going to be something that I hope it's not towards the fans. I mean, this is something that may go against the organization itself, and quite sadly, it may be one of those things where, you saw what happened with the Houston Dash, where they had a marquee player, and yet that one marquee player didn't want to come. Why? Because of the way the front office has handled the things, and it's just, all signs are pointing towards that direction, unfortunately. Hello, Edson?
Oh, okay, yeah. All signs really do point towards everything, happening like that. And it's sad to see, considering the fact that, they just need to honestly get it right. This team is still young, still younger than the Houston Dash, and they can't end up like the Houston Dash either. And so they just need to do a better job at figuring out, how to keep these players. And we even talked about it last week on, I think it was closer to the end of the show, that you can have these valuable players and be able to market them and bring in bring in a bigger crowd. And when you have those key players, taken away from you almost game in and game out, it's tough to obviously market it. And when that happens, it just does not help the club.
Yeah, and you would assume, maybe, okay, if they feel like they do have the talent to be an MLS, take them when you know they're going to be at least a sub. Don't take them when they're just going to spend their time up in the stands watching, not getting minutes. If they're going to not be getting minutes, keep them in RGV. Let them continue to develop them there. Don't just give them first team contracts just because you can. Because you're not doing the player a favor, you're not doing your affiliate a favor, and you're not doing yourself a favor as a first team. Because believe it, if you want to or not, these players, once you sign into a first team contract, they hit the salary cap. And if you're going to be paying players for doing absolutely nothing, except for training during the week and the occasional, the Charities Cup or Open Cup, then you're not being very. If you consider yourself Gabriel Brenner and Dynamo front office, if you want to play it on the cheap, as in regards to signings and things like that, because it's the best way to handle the Houston Dynamo, fine. I have no problem with that. Last year proved to bring results for the Dynamo level. But the fact that you're getting all these players, 5-6 players from RGV, paying them a first team salary, entry salary, but you're not using them, and at the same time you're not sending them to RGV to continue their development, that is not working in your favor. So something needs to be done, something needs to be revamped in this process, or we're going to have some problems. Because we're going to be losing star players or potential star players that have grown from RGVFC, and they're going to end up going to other MLS clubs or other USL clubs or going abroad instead of keeping that talent in this team where it's really needed. Rant over. So.
Well, go ahead.
No, go ahead. That was it.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, the Houston Dynamo, I mean, I think we're starting to notice a trend that they're trying to do everything in the Hispanic version of the 3 Bs. Bueno, bonito, barato.
Mm-hmm.
And can it work out? Yes. And that kind of works out. If you're familiar with the baseball team, the Oakland A's, they're not going to spend a lot of the payroll, and they just expect the farm clubs to develop players for them. And I think that's what we're starting to see a lot more frequently with the Dynamo and in the MLS in general. When you look at teams like the New York Red Bulls, yes, they have a few key names with that cost a couple of dollars here and there, but look at how they were able to do their cup run in CONCACAF. How? By utilizing a bevy of the Red Bulls tool roster, and get them seasoning. And while Houston Dynamo haven't qualified in quite some time for an international tournament like that, maybe the results that we're wanting to see may be one of those things that maybe the Dynamo themselves need to improve on in order to actually use the Toros and a full bless.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though, is that we don't have CONCACAF Champions League, and then the Dynamo, more often than not, they just don't make it far in Open Cup. Last season, I believe they played it first against North Carolina, and then they lost against Sporting Kansas City. And they were utilizing, for the most part, a lot of their B stringers as well as RGVFC players. They had Jorginho, they had Ruben Luna, Charlie Ward, Eric Bird. I think they might have had Taylor Hunter. No, Taylor Hunter was already with them. But but they were kind of utilizing their B squad plus RGV, and they did not make it far even with that. So I don't know. They need to be more, like I said, they need to be more intelligent in the way they're going to handle this.
Yeah, and I kind of agree. I mean, I guess that one turning point is going to be Charlie Ward for things for them to change, It's going to be one of those things where they're going to have to sit down and analyze everything coming up.
Yeah. Well, at least that's what one would hope for, because from what we've seen from this organization as far as the Dynamo, that we've had some things that have been right, but we still see a lot of mistakes, wrong decisions being made up top. And like you say, I hope this is a wake-up call for this organization to deal with this, but I'm afraid that this is just going to be like, oh, well, okay, well, if he wants to leave, then whatever. I mean, they're still probably going to be parading around the fact like Memo has been getting minutes, Kevin Garcia has been getting minutes, even though Eric Bird and Lucatero left as well to Necaxa. And so with Lucatero, which was supposed to be the future star for the Dynamo, and nothing really changed. And now you're losing Charlie, who technically was not our product. So you would assume that losing their own product, your own Dynamo Academy product, losing him to Necaxa, to a Liga MX team, was going to be a wake-up call, and it wasn't. It leaves me very reluctant to believe that that things are going to change, at least in my opinion. I don't know what you think, Jacob.
I think the same thing, because you also have, I believe, Jose Escalante also leaving to San Antonio FC as well, and I believe that's kind of the same deal too. If I'm not mistaken, he was signed onto the first team, or not first.
Well, yeah, he was signed.
Yeah,
he was signed by he was signed by the Dynamo. He was just loaned to RGV. He was loaned from Olympia to the Dynamo, and Dynamo would just give him to RGV to get some minutes. And then after 2 seasons, because I think he was here from the beginning. After 2 seasons, they were like, "No, we don't want him anymore." And now San Antonio picks him up. So I just don't know what to think anymore. So, yeah, you were saying, Jacob?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same with me. I'm with you on this, Edson. I don't know what to think anymore as well. I mean, he's signed by Houston on a loan, and then obviously gets sent down to RGVFC and does a great deal for RGVFC, not to mention because of the fact that obviously RGVFC at that time as well had the players, and then obviously getting them moved up. And then with Houston saying we don't want him anymore, then obviously Houston being the head, they just, kick him out basically, like he's yesterday's garbage in a way. And then now he's picked up by San Antonio FC and doing really well, when RGVFC at the same time can use that type of play with whatever he really was. I think kind of like a striker or even an attacker mid. Yeah, exactly.
More than anything, his experience.
Exactly. That's what this team needs.
Yeah, we mentioned it a couple of times in past episodes where, yes, we do have some experience in the back line, but we don't have anybody besides Victor Garza, and Victor Garza is injured right now. So who's the one with experience up top? Almost nobody. They're all young. And we really could have used somebody like you mentioned, Jose Escalante, out there to be a leader, to be a mentor to these young guys in the attack, to not allow players like Matias Saldivar to get desperate and get himself silly red cards, just trying to go for the ball when the goalkeeper has the ball in his possession already. You know, I don't know. We'll see if this pays off in the long run, but in the short term, it just hurts as an RGVFC fan, the way things have been managed with the players with RGVFC.
Yeah, exactly. It's just this whole thing behind RGVFC is supposed to be, basically a youth development system. Mm-hmm. Train these players to be good enough to get to Houston Dynamo, and after those players have been trained, they'll probably be maybe in their late 20s, and that's a perfect time to send them off. But when you can't even do that, when you're sending them off way before they're ready, it's just gonna end badly, and so far it has.
Yeah, because you're gonna expose them. You're gonna expose them to the media here saying like, oh well, he doesn't have what it takes to. Why did they get him like from RGV if he's not good to make it to the MLS when he's got the talent? He just wasn't developed enough at RGV to be accustomed to how MLS plays. So. It's a really, I don't want to say touchy subject, but it's a really, really, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a complicated matter that guys that are outside of this don't know how things are run, but from the outside looking in, it just doesn't seem right.
Exactly. And honestly, that's all I really have to say on this matter, because if we could basically do the whole show on this and just honestly just take out our anger on this whole matter. And that's basically what we have been doing. So, yeah, that's all I have to say on this matter.
Yeah. So, what else you got for us, Ray?
No, not much. It's been a very interesting talk, and I'm glad I was able to bring up a lot of the attention with regards to Charlie Ward, and it certainly brings up a great discussion now that we've seen a few things in the development. But we'll just wait for either announcement from him, from the player himself, or from the club to see if he even makes his way down here to the Valley, or to see if he's outright released and he continues his pro career elsewhere.
Yeah, whatever he decides, I don't wish him short of the. I wish him. Hold on, let me rephrase this. I don't wish him short. I wish the best for him, and whatever his path leads him to. Whether he decides to stay and accept a USL contract with the Toros, or he moves on elsewhere. I really wish him the best. Really great guy to speak with. Really great guy to watch out on the pitch playing. And if you're going to be in a team where they're not going to use your talent wisely, why stay? Even though as a fan it hurts, but seeing it from the player point of view, it's the best. It's the best decision for him.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, and I guess I look forward to having another conversation like this. Hopefully, getting the 3 points on the road against Fresno next week before we host the sixth edition of the South Texas Derby, or seventh. I forget what number we play these guys.
I think this is the seventh. Yeah, this is the
North
seventh.
281.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or North 281 FC or NYFC's affiliate.
The South.
It's
or
not
the South.
really an affiliate.
Yeah.
It's not really an affiliate. It's just a joke.
Yeah. Or the wannabe South Texas.
You know, I once read in a newspaper when I was in college that Alice was labeled the original South Texas.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
And there's even like several marquee points in the city where it reads Alice, Texas, the original South Texas. No, just drive about 2 hours further south, and you'll be in for a great surprise.
Yeah. So looking forward to being in person for that South Texas Derby. All three of us, discussing.
All four of us. You're missing Caesar.
Yeah, that
You're
that is
missing our
true.
good colleague Caesar.
Yeah. How the four of us to have this discussion on the air, and from what I hear as well, is that we might be joined by some guys from San Antonio who will be making the trip.
Oh boy!
So
Yikes! Nice.
So it's
You know,
going.
I'm gonna share a quick story real quick.
Yeah.
When the Toros first played at the UTRGV soccer track and field complex, Director of Operations, my good friend Oscar Barrera, and Mr. Adam Mendez were there. They were helping me bring out some of the equipment that was used there at the complex, and I kiddingly told them, like, hey, what did you guys do to the visiting fans that they're all rowdy and hostile to this place, man?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what you guys do to them? Did you feed them or something? He goes, no, they've been like that since they've gotten here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure, like, if you ask the guys from the Stampede, they'll have stories of when they actually went in our inaugural season to Toyota Field and how they were treated there. How even the police treated them with blatant disrespect, not letting them bring in their drums and trying to intimidate them, as best as possible. So, it's an interesting rivalry. Right now, we have, as far as results wise, we are daddy pretty much, because we've won more, but even through that, it's a really, really, really close fight every time we play against them. It's usually just 1-0 or ties whenever we play them. It's never been like where one team completely dominates.
One of my favorite jokes that I heard this past yesterday was that, how they would cry when Escalante would be flopping all over the field. Now they want to build a monument and a statue for him. Nice.
It's funny. It's funny because they're always trashing him and then now when they announced, I remember when they announced that San Antonio signed him, they had to eat crow literally because now he's on their team, and I know there are a couple of guys that are like, well,
and not only that, but they even have Mikey Lopez, who's a Valley native, and which I even heard a grumbling like, man, I can't believe we missed out on him too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he was available, but the fact that they have this quote unquote affiliation with New York.
Well, not really. I mean,
that's why I went to air
quotes. More of a San Antonio free agency signing,
mm-hmm.
and then the affiliation somewhat kicked in.
Yeah. I mean,
that's my taking on it. I mean, he was with the Sporting Kansas City, Mikey, at one point, and then he was let go by them, and then it became, let's see who grabs him first type of thing.
And it was interesting because when they announced, when New York City announced that he was released, many times through Twitter I was like, grab him, he's a Valley native, grab him, RGV, and I would tag RGVFC, like, get him when you can, because he's an exciting prospect for the MLS. And
yes, he is.
And to make matters worse, our rival gets him. So
yeah.
But that all falls on the Dynamo. But once again, man, thank you for calling the show, dude, and thank you for the interviews that you do, man, and for that and for the viewpoints that you bring to this show. And hopefully we'll see each other next Saturday over there at HEB Park.
Definitely. I look forward to the banter.
Yeah, same here. So,
All right.
all right, man. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye.
Night, guys.
Night. Wow, that was almost more than 30 minutes talking, pretty much ranting on about this. But Jacob, do you want to go ahead and continue on with Fresno, or?
Sure. Well, yeah, we can do whatever. Yeah, we could continue on. Whatever you'd like to do. Of course, you're the host, so.
Sure. Yeah, we can do it. What we're gonna do right now is we're gonna go ahead and go on a quick little break, try to get my mind back in place, and then we'll be back with talking about Fresno. So, guys, don't go away yet. All right, and we're back. We're gonna finish this show up strong, hopefully. So, as we all know, next Wednesday, we will be playing in Fresno against the one of the USL's newest teams, which is Fresno FC. And honestly, this team looks, for the most part, kind of strong for a newcomer. And I don't know what you think, Jacob, but do you foresee RGV getting the results?
Well, I think a result to me, especially on the road, and what they just need to continue doing is getting points on the road. And I'm just talking about, getting that 1 point. And that's fine by me, as long as you, of course, they can win at home. That's been my philosophy all the time, just with teams. You need to get those 3 points at home so that you can just, relax and get that 1 point. And I see them coming away with probably that too. And even with, this defense kind of stepping it up, as long as they can fix their mistakes from last game, I think they can even get the 2 more points extra than what I'm expecting, in a sense. And so it all depends on their mentality, of course, and in a way I think they can get it done.
Yeah, because the tendency so far for Fresno at home has been, their record at home right now is 1 win, 1 loss, and 3 ties, which makes that probability of RGVFC going up to Chukchansi Park I'm pretty sure I butchered that. So sorry, Fresno guys, if you're able to listen to this. But the tendency of getting a tie over there is pretty strong for this team. Obviously, like you mentioned, it all deals with RGVFC continuing with that progress and the defense and learning from their mistakes, especially in the offense. So it's going to be an interesting match. This will happen. Like I said, this is going to happen on so on May 9th, that's when they're going to be hosting us, and it'll be at 9 p.m. So at our time, it'll be at 9. It'll be a 9 p.m. game. Before they actually play against us, though, they're going to be visiting San Antonio this Saturday, May 5th. So it's going to be a quick turnaround from Cali to Texas, and then have to head back to Cali to play against Rio Grande FC. So that'll be interesting to note how that travel is going to affect them. And that quick turnaround, between games is going to affect them as well, because RGV has a full week to recover, a full week to prepare for this game, and Fresno doesn't. Plus, like I said, they have to make the travel. So we'll see how they do against San Antonio, even though it's away, but we'll see how they play against them. They did actually host San Antonio before. They hosted them on Earth Day, April 22nd. They held them to a 0-0 draw at home. And then they tied at 1-1 away against Phoenix Rising this past Saturday. So hopefully we'll be able to see a positive result. I do want to see their actual player stats, because I do like to focus on the specific players that may be prove dangerous or lethal for these teams. And for example, their leading scorer is Jamal Johnson, who has 7 appearances and 3 goals, followed with a tie in second place between Ronnie Argueta and Juan Pablo Cafa, who have 2 goals apiece. And with assists, you have Bradley Camden Fawo with 2 assists in 5 appearances. So those are the players that we're going to have to keep an eye on, especially the defense, if we want to get a positive result away. And I think we really need it, like I said, because the last time we went away, we got 0 points out of 3 games. And we kind of have to make up for those points that we lost at home in the beginning of the season.
Yes, of course. Only getting, obviously, 1 point at, for starters, St. Louis FC, giving up that goal really late in the season, and then coming back home that other time after I think we played a road game and probably got. I think we ended up winning the second game or whatever, or not winning, excuse me, but getting a point, which basically, in my opinion, when you get a point on the road early in that season or early in the season, that feels like a win. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, getting only, points at home where we should have gotten those 3 really hurts. And when, like you said, you brought up Fresno's home record, and it's not too good. Honestly, is not too good. And so that obviously, puts hope in the sense that as long as, we focus, we can get those 3 points. And we need those 3 points, not just to climb back up in the table, but just to get more confident, especially when you get when you get confidence for the road, that puts your team at a good point. And what I mean by that is just when you win on the road, you almost feel like you can win anything, because it's just a huge step. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, getting it done on the road will be key, and it'll give us confidence even for San Antonio FC and later parts of the season. And I think, yeah, just as long as we focus, we can probably get it done.
Because we're gonna be going up against back home. We're gonna be going up against San Antonio, and then the week after, we're gonna be hosting another rival, which is Swope Park Rangers. So you have two tough opponents coming up, especially Swope Park, who right now is in 6th place in the Western Conference. So we have to make sure we keep this momentum going, bring our A game to these games, and so that way we can stop losing valuable points at home. So right now, in the Western Conference, Fresno is in 8th place. They've played 8 games and they have 11 points. And then Rio Grande Valley, have 7 games played. So we're only 1 game shy. So we only have you could say like an advantage of 1 game, but we only have 6 points in those 7 games. So our margin of error is getting, smaller and smaller as this tournament, as this league, as this season continues to roll by. We are 5 points away from 8th place, who happens to be Fresno. And so these upcoming games are really critical if we want to keep to continue looking for that playoff position. So in first place we have Orange County with 16 points, followed by Sacramento with 15. Then you have Real Monarchs with 13, followed by Portland Timbers 2 with 13. Phoenix Rising with 12th and 5th place. 6th place Swope Park Rangers with 12 as well as St. Louis FC with 12 points, and then followed by Fresno. Then in 9th, you have Colorado Switchbacks with 10, Las Vegas Lights with 9, San Antonio with 9 as well, then followed by Reno with 8, Seattle Sounders FC2 with 7, then it's us with 6 points. And then we have 3 teams that have really, really let down their fans, especially OKC, who have played 7 games. The last 5 have been all losses. So they only have 3 points, -10 goal difference, followed by Tulsa Roughnecks, also with 3 points, which have been accrued by the last 3 games, which they've drawn all of them. And then LA Galaxy 2 with 3 points as well. So it's going to have to be tough in the short term. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what if they learn from their mistakes from the last time we went on the road against Fresno, and we play like we play here recently.
For sure. Just looking at, those names that are especially back in the pack, like Tulsa, and you're talking about Oklahoma there, and even the Los Dos, and even the Seattle Sounders too, kind of, let down that group, even though I guess you could say they don't really, the fans in Seattle only care more about their main team. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, you're talking about even those games that are on our schedule coming up, those teams, right now are vulnerable. So at the same time, RGVFC can get those points. And I know that I'm bringing up something that's almost wholly random there, but
yeah,
at that same time, you just look at that and say, for RGVFC, of how bad just how bad they're doing, they're actually doing okay. And of course, that, like you said, that margin of error is getting smaller for them, but it's going to be difficult when you come up to the Swope Park Rangers, which, have another hated rivalry as well with us, and it's just gonna be brutal in the upcoming games and the upcoming schedules and things like that, and this team just needs to be focused, and as long as they can do that, they'll be okay.
Yeah, definitely. So we're going to go ahead and leave the San Antonio stats and everything for that pregame show on Saturday, May the 12th. So next week, there will not be a show on Wednesday. It will be on Saturday, and it'll be live from the stadium, from HEB Park. So to all of you guys that are listening right now on Facebook, as well as when this podcast comes up on SoundCloud, Apple Music, Google Play Store, Stitcher, etc., if you guys are going to the game that Saturday against San Antonio, be sure to be on the lookout for us on the south side of the stadium. We will be there before the game starts. We will be talking about San Antonio. We will be talking about the Toros. Kind of like the show is going on right now, but live at the stadium. So make sure to look for us, and you find us. You're more than welcome to come and say hi. Come give a few words on what you think is going on with this team, because this show isn't just about us. It's about you guys, you the fans, especially for this young and building fan base that is being built little by little for this team. It's important that you guys also have a voice to mention your concerns, mention what you like about this team, because it's not all about game day. It's also about how you feel, how you fall in love with this team, not only in game day but during the week. Like how proud you are of this team and how much you love it. So, Jacob, that's pretty much it for as far as the Toros, the USO. I think we've kind of mentioned what we wanted to talk about. So we have about 20 minutes until 9 o'clock, and it's your call. Do you want to talk a little bit about Champions League, since we are heading towards the final? And then right now we also had 2 games for the Europa League. So I think it'll be interesting to talk about that if that's fine with you.
That's perfectly fine with me. I'm ready to talk about anything soccer-wise. It's perfectly fine, yeah.
All right. So, first of all, I think what I want to start with, obviously, with UEFA Champions League, and it comes as no surprise, at least in my point of view, that the finalists were Liverpool and Real Madrid. Even though Real Madrid had not their best performances in either of the 2 legs that they played against Bayern Munich, but they were able to get the results that they needed, obviously with the help of Keylor Navas, being the outstanding goalkeeper that he is. I just feel like he is not very well wanted by the Spanish fans in Madrid. You always hear all the time like, oh, well, Florentino Perez is looking to bring in De Gea or bring in Thibaut Courtois to Real Madrid to sell Keylor Navas, when Keylor Navas has been outstanding for the most part, with Real Madrid in these past couple of seasons. I mean, you're talking about the 3 seasons that he's here. You've made it to the Champions League final. I mean, what other team has been able to do that in recent history?
Yeah, that's definitely true for sure. Of course, yeah, he's been a solid goalkeeper to have. It's almost like having, just an unknown goalkeeper in a way. You want a big name star, but at the same time, that big name star sometimes doesn't do it for you. I mean, that's why, in a way, Bayern Munich lost, and I believe they have a big name goalkeeper. And then, of course, coming back to Keylor Navas, he is well known, but well known and also for a bad reason. And so you put him together, and he obviously did not do well in La Liga, or at least that well in La Liga.
The thing about it is, sorry, but the thing about it is in La Liga they've been playing Kiko Casilla more often than not. So in La Liga they've been playing the substitute goalkeeper. So it's not really much about it's Keylor Navas' fault that Real Madrid did not win the Liga. So I mean, you can't really hit on or put it up against Keylor Navas because they did not even compete for La Liga this season.
Yeah, that is true. And so, and going back with Keylor Navas, he is a solid goalkeeper that really did well for in the semis. Basically, the key was obviously that first leg for Real Madrid to when they faced Bayern at
Alliance.
Alliance, yeah, that's it. Or it's Alliance, and so it's just obviously he let up a goal early in that game in the first leg, which was okay because he, just like Corti had, he figured out what was wrong. He figured out, okay, I need to do this, and so then he stopped them throughout the game from their chances, and then was able to help Real Madrid and Cristiano Ronaldo to score 2 straight goals on the road, which basically sealed the deal because when Bayern Munich came on the road, they just really they didn't play their solid game that they wanted to play on both legs, gave Real Madrid opportunities and things like that. And so then once again, Keylor Navas was fantastic at Real Madrid's home, and he helped them. He helped propel them to that victory once again.
Yeah, because I mean, if you noticed, Bayern Munich was pretty much dominating the game with dangerous chances. Real Madrid took advantage, especially in the second goal. I don't know what the hell the defense was thinking, passing it back to the goalkeeper. I don't know what the goalkeeper was thinking, going after that back pass with his hands, and then realizing his mistake, and instead of like looking to kick it out, like let the ball go underneath his body. Just easy for Benzema to just kick it in an empty goal. But other than that, it was mostly Bayern. It was surprisingly dominated by Bayern Munich in the second leg. I mean, I was there listening to the game at work, and I was like super worried, like really into it because Real Madrid is my European team, But even for the fans, of the sport that don't really have Real Madrid as their team, you could tell that Bayern Munich wanted this, and they fought till the end to get it. At the end, it just wasn't enough, and so there's always this whole dilemma or problem with it's because Real Madrid are always helped by the refs and things like that, and even I understand that even Marcelo admits that handball was a handball, but in the end, the refs are human as well. I don't think it was super blatantly obvious, there was match fixing like people wanted to claim. But it is worrisome that what are supposed to be the elite of the elite as far as referees let these decisions go the wrong way. So, and it's happening around the world. So something needs to be done around that to train these referees better. Or maybe have a more widespread use of the VAR. I don't know, but something needs to be done to minimize these bad mistakes that can swing a game from one side to the other. And so so we know that Real Madrid passed on to the final with an aggregate score of 4-3. Now the other semifinal, wow, it was. I can say that it was kind of like a roller coaster of emotions, because in the first game you had Liverpool, especially Mohamed Salah, pretty much dominate Roma. And then once Mohamed Salah gets subbed off, you see Roma coming back to life and getting two goals over there at Anfield. And then now in the return leg, in the second leg, you had Liverpool. At least the announcers that I was listening to, they were like, after the second goal, they were like, "Oh well, Roma is officially dead now." And then I look at full-time score, and it's like Roma 4, Liverpool 2, with an aggregate of 6-7. And I'm there like, wow, that should have been a really good game to watch. So what do you think about that?
Well, I think a lot of factors, especially starting off with that first leg. You talked about Mohamed Salah, and of course, it could have been a totally different game in this first leg. And why do I say that is because even though, yes, Mohamed Salah dominated that game, or Liverpool did dominate that game all the way until the end, there were a couple of opportunities for Liverpool at Anfield to double their lead. And who am I talking about? Mane, the guy who ended up in the second leg scoring, I believe, the first goal in the second leg. So Mane had 2 open goal opportunities in that first leg to double that goal, or double their goal differential from 5 to actually 7. So they should have won that first leg, in my opinion, 7-2, and that would have made it even tougher for Roma to come back in. But then obviously we go to Roma, go to Stadio Olimpico, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And Roma were just able to play well. Of course, you see that first goal scored, and of course by Mane, and you think, okay, this game is basically over. But then right off the bat, or right after that, you have Roma score that goal to have to score 3 more goals once again.
Yeah.
And then it went back and forth in that first half, obviously. I believe 2-2 in that first half. And so then second half, it just looked like Liverpool, were backing off, and they were waiting for opportunities to counterattack, because guess what? They really didn't need to play that dominant of a game, and that's why you didn't see Mohamed Salah really, impress everyone there at Roma. And so looking at that way, of course, they knew what they had to do, and they got out of there with that 1-goal win.
My question that I have about this game, the way Liverpool played it, is why expose yourself? Because you already saw what Roma did to Barcelona. Why expose yourself to Roma to a point where the same thing could have happened to them? Now, I understand the last goal was a penalty in stoppage time in the 94th minute, but still, why let yourself get to a point where you score 7 goals in favor, and yet your fans are getting worried, what if they tie us or things like that, and we lose out on the final? I mean, if you're already dominating the game with a huge scoreline, just find ways to just finish off the game without losing any more goals. Now, because of this, I mean, when they first asked me on Tuesday, I was like, yeah, I really think that Liverpool will take it, and I'm a Real Madrid fan. But after seeing this, the fact that they let in 6 goals in this game, I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling that sure anymore that Liverpool may have what it takes to defeat Real Madrid in the final, because they looked really, really exposed back there when they didn't need to.
Yeah, and I think this will be the first time that you and I disagree, Edson. I still think that Liverpool have a huge opportunity to win this, because now, of course, you get that little, not push, like, of course, they didn't really want to use up all their energy in a way, I guess you could say. They didn't just, they wanted to counter more. And the way that Liverpool played in the second leg reminds me of a bit of how Houston played when, like the old Houston Dynamo played when in the playoffs, they would score a goal and then really just back off as fast as possible to play defense with Dominic Kinnear. And so that's kind of how that felt there. And of course they did that on the road. Now we're heading into a neutral field, if I'm not mistaken, and just,
Yes.
it's pretty even in a way. Of course, you still have Cristiano Ronaldo on that side where he can dominate with his head and his ability and his skill ability. At the same time, then now you have Mane and Mohamed Salah on this other side, and I believe that Coach Jurgen Klopp will not let that happen on his side again as well, because he'll want to just push everything or give everything that he has, because it is a final, and if they win it, that'll be the first time that an English team has won it since probably the late 2009 or 05 or something like that. And so it'll be huge for that. And of course, obviously still giving credit to Real Madrid, but the way that Jurgen Klopp has just coached this whole year, even in the Premier League, it's been really impressive. And so I think Jurgen Klopp still has something up his sleeve to show Real Madrid that no one has ever seen this year.
Yeah, I mean, I have to give huge props on the offense. And Jurgen Klopp is one of my favorite managers, ever since he was with Borussia Dortmund. But huge props to that trident up on top with Mohamed Salah, Roberto Firmino, and Mane, who have been proved dangerous in this UEFA Champions League. But still, it's the defense, how they've been how they have acted when they have been pressured in these games, that kind of gives a lot of people doubts, or at least me. I'm going to be honest. At least me. Gives me doubts. But then again, it may be just me just wanting, hopefully, for Real Madrid to win the UEFA Champions League for the third time in a row. So I'm probably clouding my view on that right now. So having said this, my question to you now is, what do you predict the scoreline is going to be? Who do you predict will win this UEFA Champions League final in Kiev?
Well, I think I predict it to be a lot like last year, in a sense that it will be high scoring, and both goalkeepers and even defenses will mess up a couple of times, and I think it might hopefully come down to extra time, because I'd love to see an extra time Champions League game. It's always fun to watch that, because it just fills your heart with nerve. It fills your body with nerve and excitement, and it's so great. My score prediction, though, for sure will probably have to be probably 4-3, and it will be in favor of Liverpool, because, like I said, just that lineup and the coaching staff, and just there's something about that team that just is really scary, and just makes me think that they can beat this high-powered, expensive European Real Madrid team.
Yeah, and especially with the fact that, as a Madridista, I have to admit that even our back line has a lot of question marks. I mean, we've lost Lucas Vazquez, Casemiro's coming off of an injury as well. Then we have a couple of injuries, especially in the back line. Varane had gotten injured as well in the game, but decided to continue playing on. So hopefully we're able to recover these players just in time for the final. But even then, it's been for the most part this season, the back line of Real Madrid has been kind of iffy for the most part. So if these three guys up on top for Liverpool come up with their A game like they have been the last couple of games, I do kind of see where you're hitting at, that Liverpool might take this. So it'll be, like you say, it'll be a clash of offenses, not really a clash of defenses. So that is going to be very, very, very entertaining for the fans to watch come the 26th of May. My other and final question before we sign off for today. If Liverpool wins the UEFA Champions League, do you see Mohamed Salah winning the Ballon d'Or?
For the Ballon d'Or, I don't believe so. And why I say that is because it's just, and I hate to say this, but in a way I think that it's kind of, that award is kind of, it's kind of corrupt. A lot, and especially it's still Cristiano Ronaldo. He's still more well known than obviously Mohamed. And when that happens, you know, it's just, it's like the NBA MVP award. It really almost doesn't go to the most valuable player. It goes, well, it does in a sense because of the fact that it's most valuable player that represents the league. Mm-hmm. And in my opinion, that who will still represent the Champions League, who will still represent almost, you know, FIFA, that will still be Cristiano Ronaldo.
You do bring up a really good point, and it's almost like the Ballon d'Or is more of a marketing thing. Who brings more the presses? Who sells more shirts? Obviously, you know, these guys like Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo back up their, you know, their efforts on the pitch. But like you say, you know, it's much more marketable to have somebody like Cristiano or Lionel Messi continue winning this award than for someone like Mohamed Salah to come in out of nowhere, per se, and win it. I mean, the same thing happened with Iniesta a couple years ago. I mean, Iniesta won the World Cup in 2010 and won so many championships as well with Barcelona. And in the end, it was Lionel Messi who won it. And then I think, if I'm not mistaken, a couple days ago, there was somebody mentioned that they admit that it was a mistake to award the Ballon d'Or to Lionel Messi because Iniesta deserved it more.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's just the way that I think these awards will continue going on, is it will go to the most marketable player for sure. If, you know, who has the highest sales, who will be able to, you know, just be able to make this the money flow for, let's say, FIFA or UEFA or whoever, basically. And so that's just, in my opinion, just going to continue on in that sort of cycle.
Definitely. But if it were all things, like they say in economics, all things fair, all things equal, I think that Mohamed Salah has enough merit, especially if Liverpool wins the Champions League, for him to earn that award, and it'll be very well deserved for him. Now the question is, will this form continue next season? We don't know, because we don't know if he's going to stay. I mean, we do know that Liverpool has apparently rejected a $220 million offer from Real Madrid for Mohamed Salah. But, you know, I mean, you have like Mahrez, I mean, with Leicester City. I mean, Leicester City won the World Cup with Vardy, with Mahrez, and I don't remember who the other player was, but they were the most important teams of that Leicester City, especially Mahrez. And then Mahrez just disappeared in the second season. So that'll be interesting to see if his run continues on to next season, and hopefully it's not just one of those flash in the pan performances.
Yeah, of course. And not to mention that, I mean, he has proved it this season and even a couple of, I wouldn't say seasons for the Premier League before, but he was the sole purpose of why we see Egypt in the World Cup. He scored so many goals for them, helped them get over that hump of, missing the World Cup for a couple of years and things like that. And so with him, jumping into or getting them into the World Cup, I mean, will also help his chances of, getting a couple of awards like that, especially also another question will be, can he score goals in the World Cup? Can he, make sure that he has kept this balance? And I think if he does that, I think we found ourselves another star in this world, especially for the Premier League.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's time, because Cristiano, because Lionel Messi are getting older, and we know that as these players get older, you start seeing less and less of the talent that you grew to love. They get old, they get slower. So I think it'll be good for world football that these younger players are coming to take over this role as the best players in the world from these two giants like Leo and Cristiano Ronaldo. So having said this, it's already 9:00, so we're gonna go ahead and end the show for today. So guys, thank you all for staying on with this show. Really appreciate the support you guys have for Down in the Valley. Like I said before, next week we'll be on Saturday live from HB Park before the game begins. So be sure to hit us up there. Come by and say hi. Want to give a quick shout out as well to our friends at the Beautiful Game Network. So if you haven't followed them, be sure to follow them on Twitter at the BGNFM. They also have Facebook. Check out their website as well at www.bgn.fm. And while you're there, check out not only Down in the Valley but other USL podcasts, and give them a shot. Listen to them. I know SockTake has really, really good topics, not only for USL but in the US soccer in general. I mean, Nipun Chopran, I know I said it wrong, but he has come up with so many interesting articles regarding U.S. soccer. I know last time, and I'm pretty sure it'll be interesting for you, Jacob, so I'll send you the link later, but he brought up an article dealing with how D2 owners cannot seem to make money out of their teams just because how these leagues are run. The fact, like, you have low attendance, you don't really have money coming in to sustain all the operation costs and salaries to be able to sustain D2 level soccer. So be sure to give them a follow. Also check out our website at downintheRGV.com. We will start posting more content on there, hopefully. And also follow us on Twitter at downintheRGV, facebook.com/downintheRGV. Follow us on SoundCloud, subscribe to iTunes and Google Play Store as well as Stitcher, so that way you'll be able to receive in an instant notifications when the podcast goes live on any of those platforms. So, having said all of this, Jacob, thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Down in the Valley, and I hope to see you there next Saturday, man.
For sure, yeah. Thank you for having me on again, and yeah, looking forward to Saturday versus San Antonio FC. It's going to be fun to break it down with you live at the stadium. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be I feel like it's gonna be like a first time experience for both of us, and so that I think that's why I'm so eager for that day to come, because it's a first time experience doing this in front of fans, and I think hopefully it'll also be a good opportunity to make this show known to the RGV audience. So here's hoping, fingers crossed. So thank you, man, once again. We'll see each other next week, and have a good night, man.
You too. Later.
All right, bye. All right, guys, that's it for today. Join us next Saturday, May 12th at, would say around 6 o'clock, live on YouTube, live from HEB Park. Take care.